So recently, we just had our 2022 election, and I have been really frustrated and quite disappointed. Not so much with the people that are elected, but more with the dishonesty within the voting system that I see. And it's not everywhere, but it is in specific places that affect the whole state, which affects the whole country. And it reminds me of about a year and a half ago when I was really angry with God over the evil and corruption that He is allowing in the government. And I was asking Him, like, why are you allowing all this evil and corruption? And He stopped me and said, no, I'm not allowing it. You are. And then started showing me how He does not tolerate evil, but He has given us humans the responsibility and the delegation to rule and reign on earth. And what we allow, He allows. And so it's actually not Him allowing it, it's us allowing it, and it's our responsibility to do something about it, to actually bring His kingdom here, and to not tolerate evil, and to not tolerate lies and stealing and all these things. And so it's actually our responsibility. And at the same time, God is on the throne, and He is not afraid. He has nothing to be afraid of. I mean, He is all powerful. I don't believe He's in control because He gives us the ability to choose, which affects the outcomes of things. So He's not actually in control, and He's not actually, like, we can't blame Him for allowing evil because it's actually our fault for allowing evil. And at the same time, He is on the throne and He's not afraid. And I think, so it reminds me of a study that I did many months ago. So I'm not going to remember the details of it. I wish I had recorded it at the time because it was so cool. It was just fabulous. But in the Chronicles and Kings and then looking at the prophets, I have always had this perspective that how a nation fares is completely dependent on the king. How God feels about a nation is completely dependent on the leader. And that was my perspective, that if we have a righteous leader, we'll be blessed. If we have a wicked leader, we'll all be cursed. It doesn't matter what the little people are doing or believing. It all has to do with the king. And in reading 1st and 2nd Chronicles, 1st and 2nd Kings, and the prophets, I realized that's not true. That God is mostly concerned with the hearts of everyone, of the general population. And He was using the kings as a way to try to get people to return to Him, to see that walking in His ways bring life, that not walking in His ways bring death. So whether it's a wicked king or a good king, God is trying to draw our hearts to Him, to show us that in Him we have life. And I saw that. So it is true that with the wicked kings there was death, destruction, war, pestilence, famine, like all these things. And with the good kings there was prosperity, peace, happiness, wealth, like just all the great things. And really it's showing that when we walk in God's ways there's life, when we don't there's death. And if we look at the prophets, we can see that even during the times of the good kings, the prophets were telling the people, repent, turn back to God, stop walking in your wicked ways. And even during the good kings, God was saying, Israel and Judah are going to be destroyed because y'all are wicked. But good king, I'm not going to do it during your reign because you are a good king. I'll do it later. But they're still wicked, so they're going to be destroyed. Yeah, so it's just His desire is for our hearts, the general population's hearts. And I also believe that if the general population were to turn to him, and I should say more specifically, his people, if his people, really he's calling the church to turn back to him first and foremost. If his people were to turn back to him, we would be blessed as a nation. Even, I mean, first of all, we wouldn't be choosing wicked kings if we were to turn back to him. So there would be that. I think with Israel, it was actually the people oftentimes that were appointing the next king, and they were choosing wicked kings. But Judah especially sometimes lucked out and got some righteous ones. And that was just a blessing from God. But in 2 Chronicles 7:14, I'll start in 7:13. If I shut up the heavens so that there is no rain, or if I command the locust to devour the land, or if I send pestilence among my people, and my people who are called by my name humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, will forgive their sin, and will heal their land. So I would say we as the church have a responsibility. We do have a responsibility to turn to him, and also really that's what's going to quote unquote save America, is by the church, his people, humbling ourselves, praying, seeking his face, turning from our wicked ways. And that's the only hope for America, is if we actually do that. And oftentimes it requires us to suffer and to go through destruction and horrible things for us to be motivated to look at ourselves and to see if we are needing to repent, which we pretty much always are. So maybe I'm too attached to America, but I would love to see our country saved from this horrible path that we're going down right now. And so as the church, as God's people, I would really love for us all to look at ourselves and see, humble ourselves, pray, seek his face, turn from our wicked ways, evaluate. So much of the church is not walking in God's ways, and it's so prevalent. It's really read his scriptures and see what his ways are. That's the first thing we got to do, right? Is read the Bible, see what his ways are, and see where we're not walking in them. In Romans 7, that's what Paul emphasizes, is the law is good. It showed me where I was going wrong. And so let's read the Bible, let's read the law, let's see where we're going wrong, let's see what God likes, what he doesn't like, and let's turn back to him and start walking in his ways, and let's see this whole situation turn around, please. And I mean, more than just doing it for the sake of our country being saved, really that's God's deepest desire, is for us to know him, for us to be walking with him, and that is where there is life, that is where there's joy, that's where there's peace. And so not to do it in a manipulative way of okay, we got to do this in order to save the country, but really, that is a goal in and of itself, is to know God and to be walking with him. And the consequence benefit from that just happens to be there, is that there's life abundantly and salvation and all these wonderful other gifts. So so I would just encourage us to actually get to know him, to figure out what he likes and what he doesn't like, what his ways are. So often, especially within the church, it's emphasized that Jesus's command is love God and love others as we love ourselves. And we just stop at that. But what does that mean? What does it mean to love him? What does it mean to love others? It's not just something that we can figure out on our own. We're actually really bad at that. And so it's a blessing that God has told us in His Word what that actually means, what that actually looks like. And it's not just in the New Testament, it is in the whole Bible. So, yeah, I would just, I'm begging you, please look into that and do it. Yeah.